And welcome back, everybody, to episode 5 of the Summer with the Stars series. I'm Owen Newkirk, as we are joined today from another resident of Red Deer, Alberta. Last week it was Colton Sevier. This week, Matt Fraser joins us from the Great White North. And Matt, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. Tell me a little bit about what the summer is like up in Canada, because obviously we keep talking about weather here in Texas. I know all the players love it during the season, but do you feel like you get the best of both worlds to be able to have the Texas winter and the Canadian summer?
Yeah, seriously, I don't even need long pants anymore. But no, it's the weather actually is starting to smarten up a little bit. It's pretty nice for the past week or so, but the couple weeks before that, it was pretty wet out, and I'm sure everyone heard about what happened in southern Alberta. Anyone knows where Alberta is, but a lot of devastation there. But it's starting to turn around now and actually feel like summer.
Now, I talked to Colton about it last week, and you guys missed in Red Deer most of the stuff that happened in Calgary and in that surrounding area. Was there anybody that you really are very close with that was directly affected?
You know what? There weren't. I didn't know many people that were affected, and of the ones that I did, they were some friends and everything like that. And luckily no one was injured that I knew of. And there's a few guys that I played with that their places got a little wet, but other than that, I was pretty fortunate.
Now, Sevier had said something that, and I haven't been able to confirm it, but he said that the Saddle Dome was pretty close to being completely a total loss if the water had gone a few rows higher and hit the concourse and the suite levels. As a kid growing up in Alberta, can you imagine losing the Saddle Dome entirely?
Oh, that would be, probably next to the Calgary Tower. That's probably the next most significant thing in Calgary is the Saddle Dome. There would be havoc there. I could not even imagine how that would affect the city of Calgary and even, southern Alberta.
Well, you have at least able to dodge that bullet. You had I would imagine, a fairly pleasant Canada Day on Monday. What did you do to celebrate the big Canadian holiday?
You know what? I actually didn't really do too much. There was some fireworks out. There's a lake nearby our house that's probably 15 minutes away. We usually go out there, but I didn't make it out there, and just kind of putted around the yard a little bit and did some stuff. I'm getting too old to start celebrating Canada Day, so that's what I like to tell my parents anyway.
Are you thick into summer training already? Have you gotten over the sort of rest and rehab of sort of the post-playoff relaxation period?
Yeah, no, I'm well into it. I think this is my fifth week into it or fourth week into it. I took a week off after the season just to let my finger heal from playoffs and just kind of let the body relax a little bit, and then got right back into it. I don't like taking too much time away from the gym and preparing my body. I just feel like I lose a little bit too much, and it was nice to get back in there for sure.
Well, it's funny. I want to ask you about your finger in a moment, but you from knowing you over the past season, you're the kind of guy that strikes me as being one that just doesn't like to sit still because of how determined you are trying to get to being an NHL regular. That if there's hours in the day to get work done, you're not going to sit around and just let it pass you by, are you?
No, exactly. And there's days where you can sit around and you can relax and everything, but when it comes down to it, my job is to be a hockey player, and my goal at the end of the day is to play in the NHL. And wherever I am, whatever happens, I want to be the best player that I can be, and I know that there's a certain way that I have to prepare my body and prepare my mind to be ready for the start of the season. And I expect a lot out of myself, almost to the point where it might drive me a little crazy some days, but I think that kind of that fire is what keeps you going and keeps you wanting more, and makes you want to get to the next level.
You mentioned your finger, and you suffered a very unfortunate injury, particularly for a guy with your shot and your game set, where shooting is a big part of your game. In Game 1, It was your first game back from being up in Dallas of the Western Conference quarterfinals at Milwaukee. I mean, you had scored a goal to get the Stars back to a tie game, and then that happened. How frustrated were you that happened? I know you played through it, and players don't usually like to talk about injuries while the playoffs are still going, but now that that's over, tell us a little bit about what happened and what you kind of fought through the rest of the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's just a broken finger and everything, but like you said, with the way that I play, I try and shoot the puck as much as I can, and when you have a broken finger, it really kind of impedes that. And but you know what, you look at what I had, a broken finger, and then you look at what Bergeron played with in the playoffs, and I actually read listened to his interview today, and he said that any guy on their team would have went through the same thing that he did to play, and I can, without a doubt in my mind, say the same thing about our team, and say the same thing about any other hockey player. It was obviously unfortunate for myself. It was very frustrating to have to deal with that every day, but you kind of just got to roll with the punches and find a way to make it work and do your best.
It's funny you mentioned that because Gregory Campbell with the Bruins suffered a broken leg blocking a shot, stayed out for the shift, went to the bench, and afterwards there was a sort of I think from a casual hockey fan or even just a casual sports fan, really amazed that, wow, he was playing on a broken leg instead of flopping to the ice, rolling around, kind of using the old soccer player dramatics or histrionics that they throw in there. It doesn't really surprise the hardcore hockey fans or the players because, like you said, it seems like everybody's willing to really pay the ultimate price, particularly in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember watching when Campbell got hit, and I'm not going to say that I'm one to block a lot of shots, but he laid down there in front of Malkin's shot, and he didn't even flinch, and he just knew that, this is my job, and this is what I have to do, and this is what I have to do to stay in the lineup. You think that mentality, it's hockey's such a dog-eat-dog world, and he lays down to block that shot because, that's what's going to keep, it's kind of a harsh thing to say, but that's what's going to keep food on his plate. And, that's kind of the mentality that hockey players have to have, because there's always going to be someone younger, someone new coming in that's trying to take your job, and that's just the way I guess we're built as players and built as people.
You mentioned stuff like that, and it reminds me of today we just announced that Luke Gazdic has re-signed a one-year contract with Dallas, and he is sort of the epitome of that. You think a lot of times because of all the penalty minutes and when he drops the gloves, he's not a one-dimensional player, but I think he really is a prime example of doing really whatever it takes for the team to do well. How important is Gazdic re-signing for the future for this coming season for the Texas Stars, not only on the ice but also in the locker room?
Oh, you know what? You can't even explain how much he means to our team. And Gazzy is such a unique individual in the way that he presents himself on and off the ice, and especially for guys like myself who, he creates a lot of room out there for us, and so many people see what he does on the ice and see how well he is at it, but no one really understands what he's like in the room and what he brings and the passion he brings to the game and to our team and to winning, and he's a guy that you have on your team that'll help win a championship, and I think that's something very special in a player and something that no one can ever take away from you.
You think he, of any of the players on the Texas Stars, would have the best Calder Cup championship celebration?
Yeah, you know what? He's got a few doozies, that's for sure. I don't know if it's the best one, but he sure has a few of them.
Did you notice one more thing on Gazdic real quick? He suffered that hand injury in Lake Erie in February of this past season. You were up in Dallas for a bit during that stretch toward the end of his injury, but did you notice a difference in terms of time and space for you and other sort of top six guys, noticing that he wasn't on the roster or on the bench during those games?
Oh yeah. Anytime that he's not on the roster or on the bench or whatever it may be, you know how much time and space you're going to have as to when he is on the ice. I mean, you get guys that are, not even myself, but just everyone. There's guys that are running around and everything like that, and once he gets on there, it's nice because it's kind of like the police are out there and can step out along.
Now, you re-signed with Dallas a couple weeks ago, at least officially. Just like Colton Sevier said last week, very early on in the summer, you can get on with your training and not really have to think too much about what your situation is going to be or sort of being in limbo. Were you pleased to get that out of the way early?
Yeah, no, it was nice to get it done and kind of out of the way, and so you can focus on training, you can focus on preparing your body, and it's not sitting in the back of your mind or anything like that. So it was definitely good to get it out of the way and move forward and kind of get on with the rest of the summer.
Now, you and I have talked about your first NHL goal that you scored last year, but you played 12 games with Dallas. Being a player that was undrafted out of juniors, how personally satisfying was it for you to not only get to the NHL, but to get those first 3 points, to play some significant time at the end of the year, really start to make those steps towards becoming a regular at that level?
Yeah, no, it was invaluable to, my development as a player and hopefully as, my development in the Dallas organization. I feel like, it definitely calms your nerves a little bit, for camp and everything like that. At the same time, that's last year, and there's a new year upon us, and you got to bring the same jam that you had, and be ready for whatever is coming down the pipe.
You and I have talked about this before. Today and all of last year, nobody takes personal responsibility of their game more seriously than you do. And I asked Kevin Connaughton a couple weeks ago some tough questions, and I don't want to make this too serious style 2020 kind of investigation or anything, but Connaughton has had to sort of try to chase that stigma of an offensive defenseman, especially in the minor leagues, always being sort of considered a defensive liability, whether it's a fair distinction or not. For a guy like you who's such a goal scorer, and especially his first year as a pro in Texas, you lit up the league. You had 37 goals. It was a new Texas Stars franchise record for one season. But a lot of people criticized you because you had a minus 13, which was more of a reflection, I think, of the way the team season went than just one individual. I know that it bothered Connaughton, and he said as much during our interview. How much does it irk you when people judge you for those numbers, not noticing that you've gone a 26-point better increase or improvement from the first to the second year pro, because you were plus 13 last year?
Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna lie, that does bother me, and it bothers me when it comes up in conversation with Dallas and everything like that. But at the same time, I'm mature enough as a player and as a person to realize that it's something that I need to work on, and like you said, no one ever wants to hear what they're not good at. Everyone wants to hear what they are good at, and like I said, I think I'm mature enough as a player and as a person to realize what I need to work on and to be better at, and if everyone just said what you did good, then no one would know what you did bad, and therefore everyone would be the same. And as a player, you got to separate yourself from other players, and that's an area that I need to work on to help separate myself.
Well, there's no doubt from just statistically, I watched all the games. I was there for every one of them this year. There's no doubt from what I saw this year that you have to feel as though you're definitely going in the right direction. You spent a significant time making sure that you were protecting your own end. Is that something that in your exit meetings at Dallas at the end of last season that they noticed as well?
Yeah, well, I hope they did, because I really felt like I got better, and that's what I wanted. I mean, Willie's done a great job with me, and you you need to have something to work on and to want to improve on something every day. And if you don't, then you'll just become stagnant, and therefore you're not going to get any better. And, I hope Dallas has recognized that I've worked hard on that, and that I want to be better and I want to be a trusted player on the ice. And but at the same time, I think that I am, and I think that I've gotten better, and I think that I'm a guy that can be trusted on the ice, and I think I've improved, and I at the same time I know I can do better, and I can be better at all facets of my game, and I look forward to improving that.
Everybody always applauds hockey players because they always talk about the team first and we instead of I. Saw some stuff on Twitter this week about that with Jonathan Toews and his sort of celebratory speeches as the Blackhawks were celebrating their second Stanley Cup in 4 years. But from your standpoint, just if you have to look at you individually, what are some of the goals that you're really driving towards achieving this coming season in 2013-14?
You know what? I'm not big on setting goals for myself. I don't like to set goals where I want this many goals and this many assists and whatever it may be. I think at the end of the year, if I can sit down and look at myself in the mirror and ask myself if I've got better, then that's all I need. I think oftentimes guys, especially goal scorers, they get so caught up on how many goals they got to score or whatever it may be. And I think as a player, especially in pro, it's such an up and down season. You just got to sit back and realize that you got better as a player. You got better in, the three zones of the ice, and you improved as a player. And I think, that's all you can really ask for at the end of the year.
You mentioned Willie before, and I've heard lots of players talk about how much respect they have for his coaching ability and his communication with the players. What was it like working with him this year? Because people may not remember, you played against his Medicine Hat teams, and you had a pretty good team yourself. And Kootenay, you guys won the Western League Championship one year. But what was it like playing against Willie when he was coaching in juniors?
Oh, it was exactly what it's like playing under him. Like, fast-paced team, move the puck, get your feet moving, and get things going. And, playing against the Tigers, they were always like that. They were always quick, fast, and a pacey team, and I think that's what Willie really instilled in us and this year. And it started right at the first day of camp, and all season he knew exactly what he wanted from us, and we knew exactly what he wanted from us as well. And he's just all around just a great coach, and he's one guy that's going to have a bright future in the NHL as a head coach.
How easy is it for you as a player to get yourself prepared day to day when you have a coach like that with A, you respect, and B, that you seem that he had a very clear message. There was no confusion about what he was looking for.
Yeah, no, as a player, all you need from a coach is just direction, and that it's to the point. You don't want a guy that's changing the systems or anything like that, or changing lines every day. And, right from the first day of camp, we had a team meeting, and Willie set the rules and set everything straight and made sure everyone was on the same page. And if you weren't, then it was quick that we were all on the same page. And like I said, he's got I truly believe that he's got a bright career as a head coach.
Well, every player wants to be on a winning team and successful, but how much fun was it for you this year? Because, obviously you had to enjoy your rookie pro season just because it was your first year pro, but what a difference in terms of wins and losses and obviously getting to the playoffs. That had to be a major difference in terms of just sheer enjoyment for you.
Oh, yeah. Words can't really describe, how our team was this year, because we started slow and everyone's thinking like, oh, here we go again. And then, it kind of clicked and things started going and we were one of the elite teams in the league. And, obviously playoffs didn't go as well as we wanted to, but we, you take the positives from the season and, bring them into the next.
You look at the NHL draft that just happened this past weekend. Obviously, some of those kids are still a couple years away from contributing with either the Dallas or Texas Stars. But as each year goes on, some of those previous draft picks are starting to filter in, and you see both the players that are re-signing with Texas, players that are just coming into the team that maybe made a cameo at the end of last year, as well as the opportunity to try to crack the Dallas roster. You think that both Dallas and Texas are set up to have some pretty competitive training camps this year?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like you said, you look at the guys that came in, late last year, and the guys that got some looks last year, and the weird thing I find about pro hockey is that we're all the best of friends and everything. But when it comes down to it, guys want that job, and they're going to scratch and claw and do whatever they can on the ice to get that job. And and then after that, we're all the best of friends, and we're all hanging out, and I think it just shows how competitive we are as players, and truly how badly we want it.
It's funny. I asked Connaughton about that a couple weeks ago, and because he played with Antoine Roussel in Chicago, now I've obviously reunited with the Stars organization, and he said, I don't know how I'd ever play against a guy like that because I'd hate him and just can't stand it. But then he quickly said that you just kind of put away the stuff on the ice and you let it go when you're off the ice. How do you do that? How do you sort of separate how intense games are, especially against rival teams in your division? You play 10 or 12 times a year, and be friendly between them off the ice.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if you'd ever see me hanging out with a guy from the Houston team or Oklahoma. 'Cause I don't know if like you said, there's that rivalry there, and that's just the way it is. But I think that's just part of being a pro. You once you leave the rink, it's no different than when a married guy goes home to his family and kids. I mean, you can be upset at the world after a game, but there's bigger things in life than hockey, and I think as soon as guys can accept that and appreciate that, then not the easier it is, but you just kind of get to see different parts of guys.
2 years ago, you guys missed the playoffs. It was your rookie season. You were just sort of learning the pro game in terms of what the season was like on your body, what you need to do in the summertime. And obviously, you had a lot of summer getting done in the middle of April. Didn't go as far in the playoffs as the team wanted to, but you finished up right near the end of, later on in May, middle to late May. Does the summer seem a little shorter this year because of that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it seems like we're already getting ready to leave again, but short summers aren't necessarily bad. It just means that you made playoffs and everything like that. You look at the teams that went deep, the Grand Rapids and the Syracuse Springfield, and that's where players are made, and that's how guys make a career and get to the next levels by playing deep and showing that they're playoff players. And it's exciting going deep, and you might get a little less summer, but the summer's overrated anyway.
Well, you mentioned getting ready for the start of the season. New GM who did at least have a chance, Jim Nill, to see the Stars and you guys play here in Texas toward the end of the regular season as well as in the playoffs and have the exit meetings. I think that was probably important for you guys to be able to have that conversation with your new GM. But new head coach and Lindy Ruff up in Dallas, between the two new big faces with the Dallas Stars, I know you were getting some significant looks last year with Dallas. Do you feel like you get another chance to make another first impression?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like you said, there's new faces up there. There's new stuff going on, and it's just part of being a pro. There's not often that you're gonna be in the same organization or have the same coach or anything like that for your whole career. And I mean, you gotta go in there and with an open mind and make the best of it and work your hardest, and you show them that you want to be there.
You had a pretty impressive travel schedule last year in Dallas when you were up with the Stars in the NHL. You went to St. Louis, Chicago, Nashville, San Jose, Anaheim, Phoenix, and Columbus. So you really got around the Western Conference a little bit with Dallas. What's that like to do the NHL travel circuit in a charter plane as opposed to riding the bus or flying commercial when you're in the American Hockey League?
Yeah, that's the NHL in a nutshell. I tell you what, you get on the plane. There's no security or very little. You sit down and you can have whatever you want to drink or eat or anything like that. So you definitely get spoiled, and as a rookie, you feel a little out of place almost. But I think that's just part of the experience, and that's part of being a young guy in the NHL. You're not used to something like that, and you got to take that in stride. And as nice as it may be, it's only there if you're there, and it gives you a little more incentive to work hard to get there and do what you can to stay there.
It's funny you mentioned that. Even though everybody talks about the difference in the actual speed of play, the skill, the strength and size of the players that are in the NHL versus the AHL, can the bright lights and the glitz and glamour of the top league also be a factor that you kind of have to overcome when you're first making those 2 or 3 NHL games at the beginning of your career?
Yep, absolutely, and I was definitely got caught in the headlights there a little bit with that, and nothing can really prepare you for that until you actually experience it yourself. And my first NHL game, I remember looking across some warm-ups and seeing Teemu Selanne flying around and Getzlaf and Perry, and I'm thinking like those are the guys that you watch on TV, and those are the guys that you grow up hearing so much about, and then now you're on the same ice surface as them. And it's obviously exciting and neat to play against those guys, but you want to be a guy like that one day, and have kids or younger players looking up to you and saying, I watched him grow up, or watched him when I was growing up, and try and be a role model for them.
So now that you only have a couple of months before training camp, do you take any more time off or vacations, or is this strictly training and business from now until September?
No, it's mostly just training and business from now on. I mean, I might go on a little golf trip out to BC with a couple buddies, but I don't like spending too much time away from home and away from the gym, and as I said, there's always someone that's trying to take your spot and take your job, and I don't want to be a guy that isn't working hard or isn't preparing myself to be the best that I can.
Not to mention being so far away from Red Deer during the regular season down in Texas. Is it nice to be able to be close to family and back up home?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's, to see my friends and my family and get to spend some time with them and just kind of get away from hockey a little bit and enjoy yourself and golf a little bit. It's definitely what I need.
Well, Matt, such a pleasure to have you on this week. Thank you so much for spending time with us, and we wish you the best of luck as you hit the Dallas Stars training camp. If you end up coming down to Texas, there are a lot of people here who will be very excited to see you next year.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Matt Fraser joining us here for episode 5 of Summer with the Stars. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you have a great week. So long, everyone.